Auzubillahiminashaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allah ke Pak naam se we start this session. This is basically a service by ACCA Pakistan and management roles towards the community development, especially youth development and leadership development program. And we invite different CEOs from different walk of lives, and especially they share their inspiring journeys, success stories at management roles. Today, we have invited a very exclusive guy with academic background and corporate touch as well, Sajjeed Aslam. He's the head of ACCA Pakistan. So today, welcome to Sajjeed.
Thank you, Jazz.
Welcome
Thank
to
you.
Management House.
Thank you very much.
What is your first impression about this Management House?
I think inspiring, I would use that word. It's really great. And I think Lahore, either way, that lack these type of the corporate facilities, whether we talk about the offices, training, but more importantly, the way it's designed, the overall environment. Once you get in, it's a different feel. It's not like a regular office feel or regular training center feel, and it's not the university feel either. Yeah. It's a very, very modern, different kind of Apple, Google type of feel. I would say that.
You touched my heart. Thank you very much. Sajjeed, share your success journey from where you started. Usually the every success story of inspiring CEOs and business leaders is a story of two P, the pain and the pride. But the pains and the pride, you pass through the journey, challenges, and you landed, mashallah, the head of a very reputed organization, ACCA, being the country head of Pakistan.
I think if I start that, basically I belong to a business family. So if I believe it, people who know that we are practically from the walled city, and our father and the forefather were in the Azam market and the Azam cloth market, and that's the wholesale business.
The pictures were touched you.
Yeah,
because
so
of
I know those. I was born there. So I was born there, and then there was certain businesses which we were doing, and we are the first generation who came out of business and started working in the employment sector. It was tough, because coming from a generation, you have got a different mindset. It's very difficult to take order and really go and say yes to everybody. But I think that helped at the same time. So opportunity is something which is in our DNA, to really look at the opportunity, find the opportunity, create the opportunity, not for ourselves, but anybody who's around you. And that helped. There were very, very tough time. You know, the business has got their own challenges. So as a family, we have gone through a very, very tough time financially, but the one thing which kept us together is the value set which we got there. Like, if there's a tough time, there's always an opportunity after that. So we have to work harder, even more harder, what we were used to do. And like Allah ka shukr, then the things started changing and we came out of that tough times. I started my career very early. I started working at the age of 14 and a half, and I was like even in the 10th grade. And that's where I started working, and that's helped. Even in my education, that helped. By the time I reached to, like when I was in my accounting profession, I was lucky enough to pass everything in a first attempt, not because I was a very hard worker, because the experience by that time, I had 6-7 year experience working in a different field, from a computer to the journalism and running a shop, running a business myself in a different area, selling the computers, building the softwares, meeting different people around the journalism, like Ustad Shagan, which we were seeing there. And all those guys I met personally, Habib Chalib and Munir Niazi. I went to their homes. We learned a lot from them, even Ishfaq Ahmed. So we were part of that culture there. So that helped. That helped us to mature. At the time, when we were going the tough time, these were the learnings which helped us. And then by the time I reached to the accounting profession and I was doing all that stuff, those things all again helped. Then another book you were referring there, Tony Robbins, Awakening the Giant. I think that was one of a masterpiece for me when I was doing my last exam, and it was tough for us. Even it was tough for us to get to pay the exam fees and all that. So that book really helped us to really know there is always an opportunity.
The giant was awakened.
Oh, a giant was awakened. And then I started my career with Nestle. I was all over the places. I spent like a good 8-9 years with Nestle in different countries. Came back, joined Wateen at that time. Then I worked a little bit with the Carnegie Mellon, and they had got another project here in Pakistan with their own subsidiary. And then from there, I started working with ACCA. I think quite
ACCA, when you joined ACCA?
2014.
14.
2000. It's been 5 years with ACCA now.
When you, mashallah, it's a very, very rigorous journey, and you made your own way. When you landed in ACCA on 2014, what are the challenges you faced being the head of a very international reputed organization, ACCA accounting organization, and you really made value, added value to the ACCA?
I think if I talk about the one value which I brought to ACCA, that was optimism and art of possibility, the term which we used very frequently within ACCA Pakistan. If you decide to do something, there's always a way, and a genuine way, like ethical way to do the things in a right way. Our limitation is most of the time our imagination, our fears. Those are the ones which are stopping us. In 2014, ACCA Pakistan has got its own challenges. It's not only ACCA, the other organizations were facing the similar challenges. And we had a little bit more. We have got a different environment which we were working in. And I think which I brought, and then the team really, I am very glad team bought into that. It's the art of possibility. So a lot of things which happened first time in the history of ACCA. And when we talk about ACCA history, we are talking about 115 years. We are not talking about in Pakistan. ACCA got the first largest project with the World Bank in Pakistan. That happened first time. It's never happened in 115 years. We are working on a PFM with World Bank and AGP and the different provinces. And that's a very unique opportunity which we are working. Similarly, from a brand perspective, from a like interacting with people like yourself, the global leader, the CEOs, I think that's something which we changed, and that's where the team worked out very well, and we came out with the different possibilities that how we can add value. The public value became a primary agenda, and that helped us to really penetrate in the market in a different way, and also help our members to really understand why they are accountant, what value they have to provide, how they will uphold the integrity of the profession within the society, how they will uphold the trust of society, whatever they are doing in terms of their opinion, in terms of their competency, in terms of their experiences which they create for their clients or their employers. I think these became a paramount value set, not only for ACCA as employees, but ACCA members and students who were out there.
Sajjeed, one thing, why ACCA when there are a lot of brands, CA, ICMA, other, SEMA, blah, 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 long list from Australia, from Canada, from USA. Why ACCA?
Over the period, I developed a very different kind of skill set. I can only work in crisis. If there's no crisis, you don't need me. Right?
It's basically the hallmark of Pakistani's entrepreneurs.
So if there's a crisis, then my skill set worked. Like when I was even working with the Nestle, my major role was that there's Turkey and there's like, if I pick up the example of the Turkey. So there were like inflation and interest rate. We are talking about 5,000% increase in the interest rate and inflation. I'm talking about 2004. And then they suddenly removed those 6 zeros from the lira, and the lira became like from a 1 million lira, it turned out to be a 1 lira. So there was a lot of crisis around the business plan, pricing, the consumer response, the financial stability. And we were working on a wonderful project there. And that's where Nestle sent me there to do that project. It used to call it Globe. Similarly, these are the crises where Nestle used to deploy me. And over the period, I told you, I started 14 and a half. So I learned it in a different way. So when in 2014, ACCA was in crisis. It's a different kind of crisis, but there was a crisis.
I know the crisis,
okay,
but
so,
I'm not mentioning.
Yeah, so similarly, when even I left Nestle, I came to Athene and I entered on the floor for the interview. I said, Christ, it's such a mess. I would love working there. Right? It was a young company, growing too fast at that time, has a lot of cash. People were very young, excited and all that. So I think that was another excitement. And after that, I got bored, and then the University Carnegie Mellon, they have got a subsidiary who was doing a workforce development. And they chose Pakistan over India in terms of the skill set. I started working with them in Athene, and then I left that and I worked with that company for a year and a half. And then suddenly ACCA came into play. And at that time, Imran was all at Dharna, and some of the investors from that particular project, they backed out at that stage. So not a very good thing for Pakistan. at that time in terms of the reputation and all the crisis. But I think it worked out very well in terms of how the digital learning, the learning which we have, we deployed that in ACCA, and ACCX was a similar product in terms of the digital learning, which was launched, got like the best portal award in terms of the accounting profession. So those learnings really helped there. So I think that's how the destiny worked. The things happen for a reason. And then ACCA was looking for something who's accountant, who is working in a marketing side, who has also the background of education. And that was a very unique, different kind of combination. And there was excitement, there was a certain challenges. So I said, why not? Let's start with that.
So you, that is why ACCA.
Yeah.
Okay, my other question is, what is the special marketability of the graduates you are producing, your students who are getting the certification or degree of ACCA, when they're going into the market, what their acceptability and employability?
I think from employability, let's take a step back, like what we deliver in terms of the competency. ACCA is not like a regular degree program. ACCA is based on exams, and it's based on a certain competencies. There are 22 competency which people have to develop, and we are not talking about accounting competency. We are talking about fundamental communication. We are talking about ethics. Ethics is a paramount one. That's a central one. Then we are talking about leadership, innovation, strategy. These are the competencies we are talking about. And then there are very specific technical competencies in terms of the, for example, management accounts, taxation, audits, planning side of it, performance management. So all these things are very specific technical side, but there is a certain soft skills. And those competencies are embedded in the exam. Then these have to be reflected in something which we call EPSM, Ethics and Professional Skills module. That's a major gap in our youth right now. Ethics itself, once it's come to the service industry, that's required a different kind of judgment. There has to really apply those judgment on an everyday basis, so people need to be trained on that. And then the professional skills, again, that's include the leadership and all the challenges. They have to reflect again in the exam, and then in an online module where there's on a case study. And then it comes to the third part, which is a 3 years training. So in a 3 years training, they have to again demonstrate that consistently, and that's the word. They have to demonstrate that consistently under the supervision that these are the competencies built. So there's the exam side of it, then there's a EPSM, which is a in-bit module, and then there's a training side of it. After that, somebody become ACCA member. So they have to really go through that. So people who are going through that process in a true way, the employability and the demand is humongous. Like when you are talking about the people who have got a high integrity, who have got a professionalism, and have got a technical skill. Now, when we talk about the Pakistan, so there are people who really appreciate all those things. There are people who may not. But with ACCA, the good part is that it's a global qualification. So you become a part of a global workforce and you participate in a global GDP. So if people really want to take advantage, we have seen the companies who have turned around. If you talk about some of the public sector entities as well, when they were going through their turnaround, they have used a training program of ACCA, which was deployed there, and they used almost 120 ACCA students to really bring these things out. And we are talking about quite a big public organization in Karachi. And there are many other organizations who have used the ACCA competency framework and ACCA trainees to really implement those changes which they wanted to bring, because those were young students, they are eager to learn and they are eager to experiment at the same time, and they are backed by the organization which has got 115-year history to really deliver something. So from an employability perspective, they are very well in demand. But the most important thing normally which people do not realize, it's the cost side of it. ACCA cost 1/3 of any university degree which we are doing in Pakistan. And we are not talking about the most expensive one. We are talking about the universities who are on a mid-tier. Even their cost is almost double or triple the cost of the ACCA once we compare that.
My another question, there is a gap between academia and the industry. The big gap, and gap is getting bigger and bigger with the passage of time. Do you think our academia or industry are really playing well to bridge the gap, or what ACCA is doing bridging this gap?
Let's start with the ACCA and then we will comment on the gap. ACCA work with the university. We take that competency framework to the regulators as well as to the university and help them develop the curriculum in the way that it's delivered the competency rather than only the degree side of it. So we are working with that, and there are a good 21 universities who are very, very closely knit with us, and we are continuously helping them out, and they are helping us out to really understand the different behaviors which we see in it.
Okay.
So that's one side. Number two, we bring the employer. We have got over 600 employers within Pakistan, which we work very closely. Our curriculum is practically based on the research which we get from the employer, what type of competency they see for future, not now, but the 10 year, 20 years from today, and how the world is changing. So it's a very research based. We have got our own research papers or a professional insight which we produce every year, just to educate and bring it to the employers that this is how the world is changing. We conduct 100 session minimum every year, and we take it at their company level, at their corporate offices, and we help them to really see what are the business model of the future, how they should incorporate that learning and the insights in their own strategy. So that's where we help the corporate, and corporate help us really understanding the future side of it. We take all these learnings back to university. We change our curriculum very frequently to really reflect these things within the curriculums as well. And we take that curriculum back to university and try to align that. So this is a one role which we play. But the bigger one is to bring all the professional insight, because when you talk about the research which happen in the university domain, that's they have got their own benefit, they have got their own challenges as well. What we bring is the professional insight. So we share those professional insight with the professors, we share that insights with the students as well, and that's also help when the people choose to take that help. That's also help to see that what type of comments the business leaders are bringing. One research paper normally take 8 to 10,000 business leaders to comment on different things, and then we create a summary that how the things will change and work out in future. There is a gap, and that's not a new gap. There always been a gap between academia and the industry. There is a different kind of universities which evolved over the period, which are very much research based, and the industry has owned their incubation center, or the industry has started working on their research and development side of it, and that's also going back. So I think this is the future which we will see more on the education side, where the industry and the academia will be working very closely, and they will have their dedicated places within the campuses where the industry is bringing back their genuine problem, and university is helping them to really solve that using the new thinking from the students and the professors. So this is how we see the physical infrastructure will be used. Otherwise, the university and education is going more on digital, but that's a primary use of those physical infrastructure and the ecosystem which will exist in future, where the people will come with the industrial problem and the university will help them to solve that.
Very short question and short answer, I expect. Are you happy with the quality of graduates being produced by this so-called lot of semi-private universities?
I think if you ask genuinely, no, I'm not. Right. So I think fundamentally what we have lost over the period is the ethical side of it.
And the competence level is very low.
That's where ethics comes into play. Like if you are graduating from a university and somebody certifying that you are a graduate, so ethics will really a guiding principle whether the integrity prevailed or not. So I think ethics are something which is the fundamental
Ethical
values.
dilemma is the serious dilemma.
Yeah, it's becoming very, very
Going forward, last a few short questions. The difficult decisions, because every CEO or business leader has to make a difficult decisions in his life. What the difficult decision, being the head of ACCA, after this assuming this position, you took 1, 2, 3 decisions really impacted turnaround the ACCA in Pakistan?
I think the most difficult decision which any CEO, and I'm not saying ACCA is specific of myself, any CEO has to really go through is the belief in the future and the optimism. That's the first thing. They have to really go back and see what business they are in, what value they are delivering to their customer or client or students in our case, and how optimistic they are that they can deliver it to certain level. There's a very interesting thing, and one of our colleagues brought it out, that are we doing something? The answer is always yes. Are we doing some good enough? Most of the time, we as a CEO, we say, we are doing good enough for the customer. Is it sufficient? That's a question which really creates alarm. Is it sufficient? That's maximum what I should be doing, or is there more? So I think the question which is the toughest one is that, am I doing sufficient to meet the need of my customer and create value for the society, and it's sustainable? So I think that's the toughest question you have to really answer yourself first as a CEO, and then get a team behind it to really deliver it. So seeing the future, having that picture in your mind, and then showing that picture to your team, guiding them, and building the trust is the one thing that we may or may not be doing sufficient. And then the team has to really trust you that the guidance you are providing is something they believe in and they want
True.
to act upon that.
Because the trust deficit is a real challenge.
Trust is the biggest thing you have to really win, and particularly if you are getting in innovation side, it's become more difficult.
You are right, especially in Pakistani context. Now, a few short questions. Success. Actually, when the CEO evolves and he becomes CEO or the very coveted position of a CEO, he gets his own mantra of success, evolves his success definition. What's Sajjeed's mantra of recipe of success?
I think for us, or for me, is the biggest success is the member satisfaction. The members should be happy. Whatever the services we are providing, it should be sufficient. Like what they expect, we are really delivering that. So we are doing enough and we are doing sufficient to really meet their expectation and the satisfaction. So for us, it's one of a KPI, member satisfaction.
And what is happiness to Sajjeed?
I think when we see satisfied member, that's the biggest.
This is the organizational success. If I talk about the personal success?
I think in today's world, it's very difficult to really segregate the professional and personal life. It's basically you have to live with the convergence. So you have to build a lot of stuff within your life. So satisfaction of the member is very close to my heart. At the same time, if you talk, one of the things where I would like to see, and I would be very, very happy, we are still making that effort, when we exceed our export of services compared to the export of goods. And the type of potential we have in Pakistan, I think that's very much on card now. It's just have to get the right perspective. Some of the resources need to be channelized. Some of the policy decisions need to be made. I think this is something which I'm working for the last 3 years, but now I'm very, very optimistic that we are getting there. And the opportunity size is big. Our resources are getting ready. The government is also getting it now that the export of services is one of a key area. If Philippines can do the $26 billion in call center, we still can do much more, given that we have got a pool of engineers, we have got a pool of lawyers, pool of doctors. Even the second opinion itself is a big opportunity around the world.
Sure. Work-life balance, because you have to travel. Being the country head, you have to travel throughout the Pakistan, across the country. Do you feel any challenge justifying your work-life balance?
I think I was like, my wife have never seen a normal life. So I got married in Indonesia. I came from Indonesia to Pakistan. I spent 3 days. We got married and we went back. And I was working on a project there. And she always felt the work life is somewhere like starts somewhere at 7, 8 in the morning and that's and 9, 10 in the evening. And that's after that we have got our own time. So when we came back in Pakistan in 2008 or 9, so that she started seeing there are people who go to office at 9, they come back at 5 and then they spend time together. That's something which was very new. I think so she was very, very accommodating in that way. So for us, the work-life balance, the weekends are there. Normally, sometimes even I'm traveling, I take my family along. Even if I'm going to Karachi, I'll be brave enough to take a road trip and take the family with me there. And then we enjoy that one.
Business stress is a part of life and the fact of life. As you earlier said, Pakistani people are a bit lazy people. But there is a lot of stress being a head, country head especially. What is your coping strategy of Sajjeed when he's really feeling angry or stressed out?
You might not believe that. I'm trained not to have stress. I was trained that one. I was very lucky to have one manager in my life who really helped me to understand the stress is not helping. It's not a helpful mode you should be in. So you have to really figure out whether something is worthy to take a stress, whether it's a business or it's a personal life. Things will come and things will pass on. And we have seen so much in our personal life coming from a business family. We have seen so much ups and downs. And being optimistic, I think that's where somehow my mind is trained not to take stress. We have situations which are very difficult. And we, as a team, I think most of the time we figure out that one. For me, I have to really weigh the outcome. If I take a stress or if I really demonstrate the anger, is it going to help? or it's going to aggravate the situation. So I think over the period, what we have learned that it just aggravates the situation. It doesn't help. So you have to calm down, have a cup of coffee. If you're a smoker, go for a smoke, relax, and then see things. You will figure out how it will work. If you can't, ask somebody else.
Sure.
There are always people who can help there. So
regarding books, because CEOs, especially the business leaders, and they, as per the research of the Harvard Business Review, they read 50 books global CEOs. What is your rate of reading the books in a year, or especially any 1, 2, 3 books on leadership development or management or leadership you really recommend other people to read this year 2020?
I think one book which I definitely recommend is the Jack Welch Winning. Don't miss out that one. And then another one which is very good one, it's a dysfunctional of the teams, like five dysfunctions of the team. I think that's a very interesting one to really look at that what's there. And then definitely if you are in a very, very tough situation, I would recommend to go back to Awakening the Giant. And another one which really helped me is Alak Nagri, Mumtaz Mufti. Go back there. Yeah, that's also very helpful to see that how the people have lived their life and Alak Nagri. Yeah.
Wow.
Alipur Kaili and Alak Nagri.
But
both
I
these
love
books. Labak is another one. But for me, if you really want to go through and see that how the people are going through their life, so Alipur Kaili and Alak Nagri both are, it's a masterpiece. Shabnama is another one which is helpful.
These are the masterpieces.
Yep, and it has got its own messages and it has got its own emotional connection which it's bring back to the society, what's happening around. So yeah, they are English author, but I think we do not lack the kind of leadership books exist out there. Even if you really want to go through that, Alipur Kaili or Alak Nagri, so there are so many messages and so many situations which were explained and how those things were handled. So those stories are the stories.
You will find very, very the depth in these books, because nowadays the people are very superficial. They don't have the clarity of the vision of the life. And through these books, they develop their vision of life, the reality, what is the actuality of the reality. Last, my question, Sajjeed. Your especially the message of inspiration, optimism for the young people. Why? Because today, because economic recession, economy is passing through very testing times, and we are very frustrated and depressed. Generally speaking, might be exceptions are always there. Just like you are optimistic, but what the message with facts, we can go pass through this recession or depression period. What is the message of inspiration for the young entrepreneurs and young students?
I think first of all, the optimism is fundamental thing. We have to be optimistic in our life, and as soon as we are optimistic, we will start seeing opportunities. That's a first thing as a mindset. I would suggest be optimistic. To be optimistic, it's a matter of decision. You don't have to really see a lot of facts around it. You just have to be optimistic, and it's your decision that you will start seeing the positive side of it. Just coming back to the fact side, if you see the demographic of the world, couple of things which we need to understand. It's a global workforce. Nobody is like a national workforce or it's not a national agendas or national GDP. It's a global workforce and it's a global GDP. So join Upwork.com and you are a part of a global workforce. So you will start finding work there and you will start claiming your fair share from the global GDP because you will be exporting services. So first thing, that whether there's enough opportunity exists out there, yes, they do. You just have to figure out that how you will access that, and with the internet age, it's becoming more common. We are a very young nation, right? Even China in a 10 to 15 years is getting into different age profile. So we are a very dependent workforce for the rest of the world. Even the Europe is getting the aged one. So when we see those demographics, you may not have to go in Europe to work for the services which they are trying to really engage you in. Now you can work even sitting in Pakistan, and you can work in a different countries using the internet. Again, there are different portals and different ways to get engaged and work there. So from an optimism perspective, if I go back 20 years back, I did not have all those opportunities. I was very restricted to work in Lahore. I did not have access to work for a company in Karachi without going to Karachi. But now I can. Similarly, the people who are in today's world, they can work in any country just staying at their home. So if that's the type of opportunity exists, why I should be pessimistic unless until I'm not willing to do the hard work. Second part, hard work. There is no replacement of the hard work. There is no substitute for the hard work. You have to really work hard at the initial 3-4 years, and it's your choice. You work hard in the initial 3-4 year, or you work hard throughout your life.
People are confusing nowadays smart work and hard work. Actually, hard work comes first and then smart work.
Yeah, you will hard work leads you to figure out how to work smartly. But if you do not work hard at your initial 3-4 years of your career, believe me, you have to work hard throughout your life.
Throughout your life. You have just into drudgery and the very vicious cycle of hard work.
Oh, exactly.
Thank you very much, Sajjeed. It's really honor. It's really privileged to have you at Management House, and the pulse of wisdom, the golden nuggets
thank you,
from you. And just people, I'm requesting all of you to watch the final version of this interview at the CEO Today TV.com, or especially the YouTube and the Facebook, blah blah blah. It's really great, insightful learning from Sajjeed. And one thing I learned from Sajjeed is especially the belief in future, and that is optimism. Despite all the challenges, all the frustrations, all the depressions, we should believe in future. That is the key to success, and especially the very humble background, humble startup, and that is a success story of the pain and the pride. Thank you, Sajjeed, once again.
Thank you, Jeff.